Assalamu alaikum, dear viewers. Welcome to the 21 episode of the SMS Friday Night Real Talk at channeltt.tv. This is Nazrul Haq, and you can join us live at Ruku TV, Facebook, and YouTube. Just type in channeltt.tv. Viewers, this show was brought to you by SMS Inc., New York State বয়স্কদের রাস্তা, SMS Inc. পূর্ণ ব্যবস্থা. So please call them if you need any help for your seniors, 347-778-5252. Dear viewers, this evening we have a great show for you, and with its two outstanding guests. Please welcome Aisha Bravo, a Democratic City Council District 15 candidate for special election. And also Reverend Osala Dennis is a former district leader for Assembly District 84. And he's also this is the highlight of the show we want to talk about today. Before we go to the discussion, you all are invited to come and join, ask questions. And here's the highlight again. What is the main reason, how is affecting our city and mostly the District 15 for homeless shelter? What is the main reason for rising the domestic violence in our community in last year? Rent relief is welcome, but the amount about the small business mortgage, water bill, real estate tax relief for pandemic victim. What is your main priority for the city budget? Do you believe the police defunding may cause the rise in the street crime, and why the Bronx ranking far worse than rest of the city or the state for social economic factors such as health, environment, crime, and education? Finally, why President Biden comment on this defunding police and student loan and minimum wage may upset the progressive Democrat? What should be the mayor and governor plan for New York City to quick economic recovery and reopening our public school? We want to talk about all this. Please call us 646-377-9179. And I'd like to welcome this time again Ms. Aisha Bravo and also Austin Reverend Dennis. Please welcome both of you. I hope you have a great evening as you're serving. So I like to begin with Ms. Bravo. Welcome to the show. And you are very young, energetic elected official who looking forward, and you decided to run for election. If you can tell us quickly a little bit about you, what makes you decided to join in this special election, and what is your goal, and what do you have to offer for our viewers? Please welcome.
Oh, thank you for having me. It's great to share the stage, well, figuratively, right, with Oswald. So good to join you as well. So like you said, my name is Aisha Bravo. I am a candidate for the New York City Council here in the Bronx to represent District 15, which covers the Central Bronx. I was born and raised in this district, literally in Union Hospital, went to the local schools like MS-45. I was raised in our public housing development. Like many of my neighbors, I faced many food insecurities growing up. Unfortunately, I had to leave high school at an early age in order to help pay some of the bills in the house. I have an associate's from Ostos, a bachelor's from John Jay. I was very active student member of the student body at Ostos Community College, where I discovered the power of my voice and activism, and I served there. I served in the capacity of the student body president, and I was able to get some capital improvements and operational costs for the school, which led me to work for Congressman Serrano, several other elected officials. So I share this because I have a robust number of years for working in government and serving my neighbors in different capacities. I decided to run for office. I currently am the district manager of Community Board 7, which covers a good chunk of this district, and I serve my neighbors, and I see the crumbling infrastructure. I see how the city does not work for us. I see how we suffer from food insecurities. I see how our schools are not being fully funded. I see how we developed affordable housing and it's not accessible to many of my neighbors. I see how landlords treat our neighbors and are not maintaining the buildings, and they're either not well maintained and causing bad health outcomes, right? Is something you shared earlier, where the borough is 62, and a lot of that has to do with the fact that the Bronx, it hasn't been retrofitted. It's not environmentally friendly for us, right? We have the Bronx River, we have tons of pollution. So I've seen this firsthand. I've lived through it. And I think that what we need in City Hall are leaders who have not only gone through the angst of not knowing where the next meal is from, but have truly lived in our neighborhoods and have not seen growth. And we need someone that has been working for us for the last 16 years, like myself in City Hall. We're going through a pandemic, and we need experienced people who know their districts in order to get us through this and past this pandemic. And I think that that's the most important thing. The city doesn't know us. One size does not fit all. What works for Brooklyn doesn't work for the Bronx. And we need to make sure that that's the message we send when we get into City Hall.
Thank you. I know you kind of cover a lot of things, but we'll come back to you again. Reverend Dennis, I know you working with a lot of different people in the city, you working with NYPD. So you just heard Ms. Bravo, she giving a hope, and she sounds like she have a lot, she know what is the Bronx problem. I want to ask you that you've been around a long time. Don't you see we have a lot of elected officials also know this problem? Why the Bronx is different than rest of the other boroughs in every measure, and the homeless shelter is the one of them most? And how you want to think? Do you think Ms. Bravo showing us the hope? This is we heard many times before, but why is not happening? And how you want to level the effect, the what do you call, the affordable housing problem is really a big issue. So again, my main question to you about why Bronx is behind.
The Bronx is behind because of elected officials. Period. That's the reason why. Once they get up there, Mr. Nazrul, they forget the reason why they were elected, and that's the problem. And this is my issue with many elected officials, and this is my issue with Ms. Bravo. Once you get there, if you make it by God's grace, don't forget who got you there. Don't forget the people. Don't forget the little ones, because it's easy to get there and then all of a sudden just lose track of everything. Now, as you mentioned, Nazrul, there are too many homeless shelters in the Bronx they're affecting our neighborhoods. They should be relocated in a place where they're not too, where you don't have schools, we don't have other people living. They should be isolated. And there are too many meth clinics near our schools, affecting and plaguing our neighborhoods. And we need our future elected officials to look into that and transfer all these clinics away from our schools.
Thank you. Ms. Bravo, the reason whatever we're talking about the homeless shelter is directly involved with the affordable housing. We heard affordable housing, but there is no really, they're not really affordable. I know you're talking about landlord is not doing anything, because this thing is not also affordable to landlord. The city have a regulation to follow, but they have to be capable to do it. Everybody's budget doesn't work. So the landlord also is not affordable to do all the thing they need to serve their tenant. So what will be, if you get elected, what we're going to do something new, different, that nobody else did before, to make this affordable housing work, or make the landlord happily do what you need to do? I cannot hear you.
Sorry, I had myself muted. Yeah. I wanted to make sure you didn't get the background noise. I shared earlier that when affordable, and I hate to use that word, right, because some of it and most of it sometimes is not affordable to the local community. So I'm going to use the term subsidized housing, subsidized by the city. When subsidized development gets built, it's poorly advertised, and sometimes the AMIs, which are the income levels that are used, are not necessarily reflective of the immediate income levels in the community and the actual need. And that is one of the largest problems. Another issue is that the AMI is it's federally controlled. Those numbers include not only the Bronx, but Westchester County. So they're not reflective of Bronx incomes. So to your point, this is why we have affordable housing that is truly not affordable for local residents. You mentioned a large homeless population in the 15th Council District. That is indeed correct in terms of the number of shelters. I personally support the idea of creating more supportive units. Shelters at the end of the day are Band-Aid solutions. They're not long-term solutions. We need to make sure that we create permanent housing and that there are supportive services on site so we avoid recidivism, whether that is workforce programs, whether those are mental health programs, and there's also a misconception that, people who live in the shelter system are substance abusers or mentally ill individuals, and that is not a fact. The majority of people who live in the shelter system are working class New Yorkers who unfortunately cannot afford rent. But what we do see in our neighborhoods is that they'll typically put shelters with a specific population that therefore forces us to kind of stigmatize them. So I did want to say that because I think too often we do that. Like I live paycheck by paycheck. I could be one of those New Yorkers that could end up in a shelter. So I think we need to have that sensitivity. But in order to alleviate the crisis that we have now in the city of New York and making sure that we create supportive units, we need to make sure that we're housing New Yorkers in these units, but also taking into consideration the borough itself and the community. We also are inheriting a population from other boroughs, and a majority of the local residents won't have access to these units. One of the issues that a lot of my neighbors face is the fact that before this pandemic, they didn't have Wi-Fi, they didn't have smart devices, and nor did they know that these lotteries were available to them for them to apply. So one of the things that I've been able to do is work with developers that are building in my community to make sure that they partner up with the local schools that have the highest number of unsheltered children to make sure that they at least have access in applying for this. And that in essence is the real issue here. A lot of the people in the community are not in the know of what that process is. Another thing that's an issue is that they don't take into consideration the expenses that one has. Everything is based on your gross income, not your net income, right? And that's a problem. A lot of us have to pay childcare, which is very expensive. We have bills to pay, and everything is done on the gross. Nothing is done on the net. So those are like major issues in our communities. But to answer your direct question, we need to build more supportive units and not necessarily stigmatize the unsheltered population.
Yeah. Okay, before I go to Reverend Dennis, I just want to touch one more thing related to this housing issue. I got a call 2 days ago from help that the landlord is seeking help as a community-wise because he got a tenant who did not pay more than a year, and just sitting here with 7 people in his house using the electricity, water, and everything. So my question to you, we're getting a lot of relief for rental, like no eviction, and also the support other way, and they kind of get a message from governor and other elected official like, oh, that nobody can evict them, court is closed. What this victimized landlord, I mean, when I say landlord, I don't talk about the big landlord, the 1-2 family owner, they're stuck with the mortgage. What about any relief or from them, like city can give a break on them water bill, real estate tax, or any other means? Are you going to propose any of these for the small owner if you get elected?
That's a very good question. And yes, part of the rent release program does apply to small landlords right now in the state of New York. So there is some accommodations for that. In terms of everything else you named, it's something certainly that I will look into to help, because essentially small landlords are a small business, right? And we need to make sure that we help them thrive and give them the appropriate tools that they need to continue to stay in business and maintain their property. So whether that's an accommodation in some sort of relief, right? Either in taxes or in what you mentioned, utilities, right? That is something that I'd be more than happy to be supportive of. I have many small landlords in my district.
Thank you. I want to switch up a little bit, and Reverend Dennis, if I may ask you, if you look at the data for last year, we see there's different things happening. Of course, I want to go one by one, but one thing is happening is a lot of domestic violence, and that's including also a little bit drug abuse too. What is in your view that dramatically changed place, and Bronx is the one of the biggest to get the hit? What makes this happening? What are you doing something different that is rising up? Is anything that maybe we're lacking? You work with the NYPD. Do you have any different idea or information?
Yeah, we have a whole lot of outreach. The 4-0 command, the 4-1 command, community affairs, as to domestic violence awareness. Unfortunately, the pandemic has made situations a little worse. But yes, there's resources out there. Get in touch with NYPD. Get in touch with yours truly. Get in touch with someone. There is hope out there. There is a lot of resources, and I believe, Nazrul, that the pandemic has made things a little worse. That's what I believe. Everybody's home, can't go out at the very beginning. This is why it's time to open up, Mr. Governor. It's time to open up New York City, Mr. Mayor. Open up New York State, Mr. Governor. It's time to open up. We need to get out there. We have the vaccinations, we have our masks. We need to outreach to our people, because indoors domestic violence, we all, as Blacks and Latinos, we all are a victim of it. We all had a piece of that pie, Nazrul. Blacks and Latinos had a piece of that pie when it comes to domestic violence. And what we need is to let the people know, Nazrul, that NYPD, we are out there to help you. Reach out to us, and we will give you all the resources necessary to help you.
Speaking of NYPD, I just want to touch base quickly. I ask everybody, do you believe on defunding police, or do you also believe defunding police may cause rising of the street crime? Quickly,
that was a huge problem with these elected officials. They defunded police.
They're not did yet. They're proposing it.
Right. It's there. They eliminated $1 billion, Nazrul, from NYPD.
Okay.
They did that.
So they did that. They did for NYPD. Okay.
Yeah, but that was approved. That approved. And we cannot defund NYPD, because when our back is against the wall, when it comes to crime, we dial 911. That's the first thing what we do, is dial 911.
Thank you.
So,
yeah.
Yes.
Finish. Thank you. I want to, Ms. Bravo, I wanted to also you touch the previous question about the domestic violence, drug abuse rising during the pandemic, your evaluation, and also if you want to comment on this police defunding and your position on police defunding.
All right, so I'll start with the domestic violence. You're absolutely correct. There's definitely has been a rise, but it's been on the rise pre-COVID. I think what we need to do as a city is invest in programs like Safe Horizon that are actually in some of our precincts in the Bronx. Reality is that if I'm going through a domestic violence case, it's definitely it's best to go to a professional to discuss these things to get services, right? What we're seeing is an abundance of domestic violence in our immigrant communities, and we need to make sure that we have awareness and that they're aware that there are plenty of services available to them, but we also need to make sure that we give them language access, where I feel is the biggest issue here in the Bronx and across the city of New York. We have a growing, like you said, Bengali community, we have a growing Hispanic community that are coming from other countries, and we need to make sure that we give them things in their language. And when we're sharing awareness, even like vaccines and just getting tested for COVID, we need to make sure that we're giving them the right tools. I think there are plenty of services that the city provides. We just need to make sure that it's made accessible to those that are not English speakers. And I think that would definitely be helpful. And also expanding the Safe Horizon program, that I'm sure Oswald can talk about too. I think it's a great program. I mean, reality is the NYPD is not fully equipped to deal with things like that, right? So we need to make sure that they have partners, and I think Safe Horizon has been a good idea.
Did you want to say anything about the defunding police?
I definitely think that we need to reimagine what public safety looks like in communities like ours. In terms of the divestment that was recently voted on, did not touch personnel, just to be clear. That was to pretty much demilitarize the police, take away funding from armored vehicles, tear gas, things that are often purchased excessively. We need to take that money and obviously reroute it to mental health services. To Oswald's point, like we unfortunately we do have crimes, and we need to make sure that police officers are answering calls, those that are of imminent danger, not necessarily those of individuals that have mental health conditions, right? We need to make sure that they're getting the services and not being criminalized for being ill, and that requires approach, and that is bringing mental health professionals into the situation that can de-escalate and not necessarily react, right? Because let's be honest, police are militarized, right? So they're not trained, they're not mental health professionals, and for a long time they've been asked to do something that they were not trained for. So the divestment was something that the money would go to professionals in our education system.
So you don't believe that the street crime have anything to do, or rising street crime, anything to do with this recent defunding police, or it should not, it will not affect?
I can't speak to an increase in crime. I haven't seen the stats. I haven't seen the proof of that. I think that, with COVID, you're going to see a rise of many things, right? We were quarantined for quite some time. And, unfortunately, if you're home with your oppressor, then you're going to see a rise on a lot of things. I think that is something that we all need to assess. And really, before we say that crime has been rising, I really need to look at those statistics to really have an assessed opinion to share with you.
Well,
Thank you very much. Yes, Dennis. Yeah, please.
Nazrul, we just gotta read the papers. It's out there,
Right, but the media is looking to sell papers, right? And I'm not confirming or denying that. All I'm saying is that not everything we read is the truth.
If you go to the Build the Block meetings by NYPD, every CO from every police precinct is there, and they talk about the statistics of crimes. And crime is on a rise, thanks to the failed policy of this mayor that we have now, and the failed policy of elected officials right now. So crime is up, Nazrul, and we need to stop defunding the police, and we need to refund the police.
we're gonna talk more about this reopen the city, and also we're gonna talk about a little bit national level issues. When we come back, we're gonna take a short break. Dear viewers, please stay with us. You're watching Friday Night Real Talk 20 episode, and we have a city council candidate, Ms. Bravo, and Reverend Dennis with us. Right back after the break.
আপনি কি বয়স্ক পিতামাতা ও গুরুজনদের দৈনিক সেবা নিয়ে চিন্তিত? ভাববার কোনো কারণ নেই। সিনিয়র মাল্টি সার্ভিস ইনক আপনাকে দেবে বয়স্ক সেবার সকল সমাধান। আপনি কি বয়স্কদের সেবা করছেন? তাহলে আপনার সময়ের মূল্য হবে উপযুক্ত পারিশ্রমিক। এসএমএস ইনক স্বল্প মূল্যে বাড়ির দৈনিক কাজকর্মে যে কোনো ধরনের বয়স্ক সেবা দিতে সদা প্রস্তুত। নিউ ইয়র্ক স্টেটের বয়স্ক ও অক্ষম বাসিন্দাদের আস্থা এসএমএস ইনক এর পূর্ণ ব্যবস্থা। বিস্তারিত জানতে কল করুন 3477785252।
My name is Mohammed Majumdar. Since 1989, I have been living in Parkchester. I have spent the last 30 years in the community organizing and helping my district because the actual people in the community need a voice. I want to continue build the Bronx. I cannot build alone. So in June 2021, I'm asking for your vote.
Paid for by Majumdar for the Bronx.
সিটির হেলথ ডিপার্টমেন্টের পূর্ণ মানদণ্ডে তরতাজা ও ঐতিহ্যবাহী সুস্বাদু খাবারে রয়েছে ব্যাং ব্যাং শ্রিম্প, ডাম্পলিং, সালমন স্টেক, রকমারি বিরিয়ানি এবং চিকেন ললিপপের মতো বাহারি খাবার। আমরা উবার ইটস, ডোরড্যাশ আর গ্রাবহাবের মাধ্যমে খাবার ডেলিভারি করে থাকি।
এই করোনা মহামারীতে ঘরে বসে নিশ্চিন্তে অর্ডার করুন www.halalfresh.nyc।
হালাল ফ্রেশ প্রিমিয়াম চাইনিজ কিচেন, 2241D ওয়েস্টচেস্টার অ্যাভিনিউ, ব্রঙ্কস, নিউ ইয়র্ক 10462।
হালাল ফ্রেশ, আস্থা রাখুন, আমরা আছি আপনাদের সাথে।
Dear viewers, welcome back to the Friday Night Real Talk after the break. Today we have a great show, and our two outstanding guests is 𝐅𝐨𝐥𝐵 Bravo. She is the City Council candidate for special election, District Council District 15, and we also have a Reverend Osalo Dennis. Please welcome back both of you. Before we go to break, we were talking about this police defunding and that related to the street crime issue. Then now we back to the Dennis. The Reverend Dennis was talking about the mayor and mayor as a failure mayor and failure governor. So let's talk about our governor and mayor both a little bit. So speaking of governor, he wrote a book called The Pandemic Prescription, which is called, I think I forget the name, is about how to handle the pandemic. And now he's, as we know, he's under investigation. His arrogant decision or aggressive decision that caused a scandal in the nursing home, and more than what also I think should be also investigate why the restaurant was fully open right north of the Bronx in anywhere in Westchester area, and if you go right outside of the Queens to the Long Island, everything was open while whole city was a ghost town. How that justified, and we have 100,000 of restaurant run out of the business, and many 100,000 employee was lost job permanently. Many says that you can get infected in many other way. People are doing shopping. There's a supermarket open. There's many other entities open. But why restaurant? The basic thing the people was closed. So how are you going to respond, Ms. Bravo, with this? Well, how are you going to grade our governor? And do you think it was a big mistake to kill the whole the restaurant and hotel industry and also the nursing home scandal?
This is a lot. Okay, so let me start. It's hard to be critical of someone when you're not in their shoes. I think this is a very unprecedented time for all of us. This is when leadership does get tested. I do believe that more could have been done for our restaurants. I do agree with you. Westchester County was definitely open and an economic engine, right? Because Bronxites were still going to Westchester County to go to these restaurants. So could that have been handled better? Absolutely. I think that the governor should have definitely invited more business owners to the table to really have these discussions and how this would have an adverse effect. I'm running in a district that employs over 250 people from the community in the Belmont section, which is like the Little Italy, which is well known, right? A well-known eatery here. And most of the people that are employed in these restaurants live in the neighborhood. So I have to tell you that I saw this firsthand, and to just be direct, I do believe that it was handled very poorly, and we should have been given the opportunity to open at a certain capacity. And I did see the restaurants taking the right precautions, with PPE, hand sanitizers, social distancing. So we should have definitely been given the opportunity. So I'll leave it there. It was definitely handled
anything
poorly.
about the nursing home situation?
Yes, I've been following up on that. Actually, during the pandemic, I worked with many of my local residents that were not able to communicate with their loved ones, and it was very unfortunate. So it's sad to hear that the governor did not report the numbers correctly and that there was negligence involved. These are people's lives. These are our loved ones, right? When we're forced to put them in a nursing home, it's not something we want to do, right? It's something we have to do because we can't take care of them. And the least that we could expect is that they're well cared for. So again, this was something that he handled very poorly, and I'm sad that there's blood in his hands if this is in fact the truth.
Reverend Dennis, you agree with Ms. Bravo?
Nazru, I agree 100% with Ms. Bravo. I want to say this. We are in America and we have freedom of speech. I was born here in the Bronx, and the governor has failed us miserably. What the governor did is a disgrace. He should resign. How can you write a book, make money out of this book, win an Emmy? I send the Emmys. I send them an email, and I said, "Hey, take away the Emmy from the governor, because you cannot profit on the life of other people." So, Governor Cuomo has failed miserably Blacks and Latinos in our nursing home. In our nursing homes in the Bronx, they stacked up patients with the coronavirus, COVID-19, and they were just dying. They were dying, and the governor must resign. The governor must go. He has failed us miserably. He's under investigation. I hope that Letitia James really gets under the nitty-gritty and investigate the governor. And I hope they really get down to business, because over 16,000 1,000 people died. And that's a lot of people that died. And yes, when someone dies due to your incompetence, you must face reality.
Now,
arrogance.
Go ahead, finish it. Okay.
Pure arrogance from this governor.
Now, speaking of governor, what the mayor should or was able to do to save the New York City's economy a little bit is not only hotel industry, is the taxi cab, is the tourist industry, anybody, airlines, is completely ruined, and Manhattan become a ghost town. And if you go different other city in the world, I know they're all facing the pandemic, but there was a check and balance, a little bit coming back and forth. But New York City was completely shut down since the March, and it's been almost right now. And if you go there, you cannot recognize the New York City anymore. So do you think mayor can do anything, bypass the governor, or this always governor call? Janice.
Okay.
Okay. I mean, I'm going to hear from her.
Sure. The mayor and the governor, they don't get along, and that's the big problem now, Drew. You see, there's no communication. There's no good chemistry. So when there isn't any good chemistry, no communication, the city, the state, the company is going to fall. It's going to fail because there isn't any good chemistry. They don't like each other. They do not like each other. So the mayor, he could have stepped it up. The mayor could have put his foot down, but he acquiesced. And when you acquiesced, everybody fails, everybody falls. Manhattan is a ghost town, and people are just leaving. They're all going down to Florida in droves.
Yeah, speaking of, there's 100,000 apartment empty in the Manhattan right now. Now, I'm going to come to Ms. Bravo, talking about this mayor rule, and I also want you to add, well, we got the vaccine now, but are we getting it? I have so many calls, so many people call me, reach me out, I reach out to others. There is no vaccine. There's so many sites we call, we try to register. There's a lot of essential worker, home care worker, they're not getting it. The vaccination is very slow in New York. Why, and who's doing what? I mean, do you have any idea? Also, I want you to talk about this mayor rule on it. Bravo.
Is that for me?
Yeah. Yes.
Oh, okay. Okay. So let's talk about the vaccines really quick, since that was the last thing you mentioned. So obviously we're still waiting from the federal government to disperse that. It's my understanding that about a week ago that we were going to get a large amount of them. We do need to do better, but if you recall, this is very similar to testing. This is exactly the same way testing was handled. It was just not accessible. And when it comes to communities like ours, like the Bronx, we were the epicenter of the epicenter, right? Considering our health disparities to begin with, we are the most vulnerable population, right? So we definitely need to prioritize our frontline workers, and we need to define what frontline workers are, right? Our home care, health aides, right? Our supermarket workers, the people that we often ignored in situations like that are working throughout the pandemic and are still working, right? We need to make sure that it's more accessible. And you're right. You mentioned that there's, it's so hard, right? They were giving out the Yankee Stadium, and then when you call to make an appointment, they don't have anything. I've had people call me and tell me, hey, I made an appointment, I show up, and they don't have a vaccine. So what we need to do is we need to make sure that we partner up with smaller clinics. We partner up with local community-based organization where vulnerable communities and undocumented communities are already comfortable with, right? That they're going to those nonprofits already, and we need to expand accessibility once we have more. So I think that that's where we need to start. Reality is people are going to go to their comfort zones, right? They're going to go to their churches, right? These are places of comfort, and we need to make sure that there's access in these locations. We need to have mobile vaccine places. We need to make sure that our local pharmacies that our abuelitas and our abuelos, our grandmas and grandpas go to, have access to it. I want to trust that that is something that will continue to increase. And we will have access to. It's my understanding that that's something that's being worked out. But you're right, it is at a turtle pace, unfortunately, and we need to make sure that we demand that it gets done quicker.
Yeah,
especially here in the Bronx.
Dennis, if I may switch to you, it's not only that we're getting slow process. In top of the slow process, it looks like whatever we have is not we're doing organizing wise, and then I find and. Apparently, disturbingly, there's a people in here and there getting it. I don't know what criteria they're making it. I know people getting who are not essential worker, who are not front worker, who are not old enough. Then people are not getting it. It's some like who knows, and that's very sad if this is the case happening. So that's not only is top of the lack of supply is a huge lack of management and favoritism. Do you agree that's happening?
Well, I want to thank the FDA for approving Johnson & Johnson. Johnson & Johnson this weekend, they're going to provide vaccine for millions of Americans. And we need the governor and the mayor to tap into Johnson & Johnson. Because we have Pfizer, we have Moderna, but now we need Johnson & Johnson. Johnson & Johnson has been approved. It's only one shot, and that's it. Now, as to who is eligible, who is not, I think that we all are eligible. The problem is that some are essentials, others aren't essentials, but actually we need everyone to get vaccinated. One of the things that affects our poor communities, including us, Blacks and Latinos, and Bangladeshi and everyone, is that we are afraid of the vaccine. So we don't want, there's a taboo out there, Nazrul and Ms. Bravo, there's a taboo out there that said, hey, I'm afraid of the vaccine because we had a vaccine drive not too long ago at Somo's clinic, and we said to everyone out there, it's safe. Come to East Fordham Road and you will get vaccinated by Dr. Nunez and Dr. Pena. And we had over 150 seniors and essentials and ministers. There are essentials workers that were vaccinated. Even myself, Nazrul, I got the first shot. You see, I work with a lot of people. I'm in hospitals. I'm in prison. I'm in different police stations. So I got my first shot from Moderna. My next shot will be March 23rd, which is a month from today. And it's safe. It's safe. But we need the mayor and we need the governor to tap into Johnson & Johnson. Johnson & Johnson was approved, and we need them to step it up.
I hope so. Now,
yes.
Going back to Ms. Bravo, I know you maybe forgot to touch base of the mayor rule. If you may do that, and also I want to add it. Look, we have a lot of things open. You know, we're going to mall. We're going there, here. I see some reports say that you have a higher chance to get infected in the community than in school. We have a vaccination now. Why can't we vaccinate our teacher and open the school? What do you want to say about their policy on the school open? That's the question to Ms. Bravo. But before I go there, I want to see if I have a caller on the line. Hello, caller, can I hear me?
Yes.
Assalamu alaikum. Please, আপনার নামটা বলে কোয়েশ্চেন করতে পারেন প্লিজ।
জি, আসসালামু আলাইকুম। I'm MD Alauddin. I'm calling from Pakistan. So my question is to the Danish. He giving a nice advice about the vaccine. So my question is, in the Pakistan, now we know the rate that affecting the COVID is high, but as like zip code like 10462, 10472, 10473. So comparably, it is three of the zip codes the people is living there comparably like same they are affecting, but you are living this area. I know you are the like political leader also in this area. How do you think in the zip code 10473 they doesn't allow to the people who ever live 10462 go there and take the vaccine? So those people, they need the appointment to go there, and it's never, they cannot get the appointment now, is not available nowhere. But whoever live 10473, they can get at any time without the vaccine. And
Okay, thank you.
guys,
So I think you're trying to say the zip code 72 and 73, the 72 people are not able to make an appointment, but 73 people getting it. That's what you're saying?
without, yes, without
Yeah, so thank you for your question. So I want to clear it out for both of you. He's saying the one zip code getting more favorite is over the other zip code, and that's what his experience. So Dennis can say later, but I want to go back to Ms. Bravo, and you can also answer the caller if you have anything to say about it. Why they favorite over one zip code over other? Ms. Bravo.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can. Yes.
Oh, okay. I said I don't think it's favoritism. I think it has everything to do with the number of COVID cases. It could be that that particular zip code has a higher number of COVID cases or a larger rise, or I'm sorry, a higher rise, and that could be why they're prioritizing those zip codes. I don't think it's that. And what was your other question?
Well, we're talking about the school opening and mayor rule on city economy, or yeah.
So the reopening of the schools, as a parent, I feel that it was handled very poorly. The city of New York had 6 months, possibly a little more than that, to figure out what reopening would look like. And this is why we had to immediately shut down. I think that when these decisions are made, they're made by administrators who have never taught in their life, who may not even be parents. And I think the biggest problem when these decisions are made is that they're not done collectively with school administrators, like principals and teachers. And I think that that's where the biggest problem is. We do have mayoral control. This works when there's a mayor who takes into consideration these stakeholders. I think it could work, but in this instance, it did not work. So did I like the way they opened it? Do I support the way it was opened? Absolutely not.
What the mayor or governor can do at this point to do the quick recovery for economy? Anything you will really support for it, or you will suggest, or you will play a major role on city budget if you get elected?
Right. So, I mean, I know this is a big soundbite that's being used, taxing the rich. New York City has over 113 millionaires that we need to tax. That's one. Two, we need to invest in public banking. Public banking is definitely a good way to recover for our economy.
Thank you.
So,
Mo, you finished? You're done, right?
yes, I did.
Reverend Dennis, you can answer the caller if you want. And my last question, that what this is a very essential that our governor would, beside their failure in the past, only right now moving forward, one thing they can do, come up with this comprehensive plan to quick recover the city and get back to the business. What do you want to suggest them?
Yeah, Nazrul, I want to thank your caller, and I want to let you know that there is resources out there. I want to share with you the clinic Somos, and if it's okay, Nazrul, can I give the number on the air?
Yeah.
Okay, the number is 88. I'm sorry, I don't have my glasses. 833-766769. Call that clinic. They have vaccines, and for your caller, call that number. Dr. Nunez is there. Dr. Pena, East Fordham Road. They will take care of you. I understand it's a little problematic. I had to get online for my mother to get the vaccine because she's not very well with the computers.
So clinic you're talking about, they will accept anybody at this moment?
Yes, vaccination.
Okay.
Yes.
So how this clinic have it while other clinics say they don't have it? I'm just curious. Is it they have a different source?
Well, that's a good question. I don't understand why that's happening. I could work on that, but it's mind-boggling. I don't understand why that's happening. But,
okay, you want to talk about a little bit this city's economy recovery, and I have one more last question to touch before you end the show.
Yeah, quickly on the schools. Well, one problem with the schools, Nazrul, is that it's the union, the United Federations of Teachers. My daughter is a teacher. I love teachers, but the union, they are for themselves and they are not for the children. They don't have children in their mind. And I love my daughter and I love teachers, but they need to bury their differences and open up the schools for our children and teach in our classrooms. Now, your other question.
Oh, the economic recovery for New York City, what mayor and governor should do?
Well, that's a great question, Nazrul. Mr. Mayor, open up New York City. Mr. Governor, open up New York City. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me?
All right. We'll come back to Janice. I think you lost your voice. Is Ms. Bravo, can you hear me, right? Hello? Okay, Ms. Bravo, can you hear me? Hello? Yes. Sorry, viewers, we have a little bit technical difficulty for sound. I hope we get back to our sound back quickly. Hello? Do you have a connection back? We have a do you have a connection, Ms. Bravo? Dennis, can you hear me? No.
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Oh, I can hear you. So yeah, okay. you wanna finish your word? Did you finish?
Yeah. Yes. The United Federation of Teachers, that union, they need to understand and remember that our children are priority. Mr. Mayor, open up our schools. Mr. Mayor, open up our city. Mr. Governor, it's time to open up.
Well, I know the caller asks how he can send the children without vaccination, the parents. So that's a good, the caller in the Facebook asks that every parent must be vaccinated before they send the student. Well, that's why maybe school is not open yet. But we're running at the end of the show, and I want to touch one more last question about our national base. So in the last week, the first town hall meeting, Biden came in front of the press for the first time after he became a president, and he said he changed his position that he's going to forgive the 50,000 student loan. He said, no, I cannot do that. I'll only do 10,000. And Ocasio-Cortez, the congressman of our New York, who is also known to be a progressive Democrat, did not like it. and the Biden also want to propose 15% $15 minimum wage, and the last thing he denied about the police defunding, which is good news. So now I want to get both of your comment about this tuition forgiveness for 50,000 he promised during the campaign. What do you think? He say he doesn't want to do it because people going to the rich university college, they are rich enough. He can use this money for early childhood. Instead, he want to make the community college is free. Your thought, Ms. Bravo. And I want you to give your last comment for our audience, because there will be last question for you. Can you hear me? Oh, Janice, please, can you answer that question?
Okay. I hope that the president of the United States is running the country. I'm afraid that he's not running the country. It makes me wonder who's really running the country. But it's hard to forgive tuition, because tuition pays the salaries of teachers, professors. Tuition pays the salaries of the schools, of the school security, of everything else. So that's kind of hard. And I hope that he will be able to come through with that promise. I really do hope so, because my son, he has a lot of tuition to pay, and that's very, very important. We need to cancel the tuition, because our students
no, but thing is that it was a promise. I'm not saying it's justified or not. My question is, the 50,000 was campaign promise, and the first meeting he changed his position, and that's one thing. And second thing, that he liked to use this money for community college, which is personally I think is a great idea, but our progressive Democrat don't. They're upset about it. Why? Do you think it makes sense?
It doesn't make any sense. The president is correct. The president is right. Progressive liberal Democrats, they have a whole completely different agenda. They're too far to the left. But the President Biden, he's right, and we stand with him 100%. Nazru.
I'm already end of the show, and I kind of so sad that I lost Miss Bravo's connection. If she can come back in a minute, I will get the last word from her. Is any way is possible to get her back? Okay, so look like we lost Miss Bravo for tonight, and hopefully we're gonna get back her tomorrow again. And I think we have covered a lot of things. So we almost end of the show. Dennis, before you go, you have a 30-second. Anything you want to, your last word?
Yes, Nazrul, thank you very much. You're doing a great job in the Bangladeshi community. I want to let everyone know that Mr. Nazrul and Mr. Majumba are doing excellent in the Bangladeshi community. Keep up the great work. We love you guys. We stand with you 100%, and hope to see you very soon.
Thank you, Reverend Dennis. I appreciate your time, and also thank you so much. Aisha Bravo is a city council candidate. Wish you all the best. Although I cannot get the last word from you, all the dear viewers, we want to thank you everyone for staying with us. Thank you everyone who call us. Thank you everyone who join us on the Facebook comment, and thank you everyone who have shared us. I appreciate it. We talk about a lot of our Bronx local community issue, homeless issue, the domestic violence, and the police defunding, and the housing issue, and city economy issue. A lot of important things we learned from both of the speaker. I hope you find it helpful, and there is a number also share for anybody who need to get a vaccine, and we also know that we have a new vaccine coming. So thank you for watching the show. Again, we will be another show next Friday. Until then, be happy, be healthy. We'll see you again soon. Thank you very much.
শুধু দর্শক, সপ্তাহ জুড়ে বাংলাদেশে ঘটে যাওয়া ট্রাফিক, ট্রান্সপোর্ট, টেকনোলজি ও ট্যুরিজমের আলোচিত ঘটনার সংবাদ বিশ্লেষণ নিয়ে এন্ড অফ দ্য উইকে আপনাদের সঙ্গে থাকব আমি আমিনুর রহমান।
মনে করো পান টান খায়, তারপর আবার না দিলেও চলে, বুঝো না?
ভ্যাকসিন তো এখন নিতেই হবে।
আমাদের দেশে পরীক্ষা করে মানুষ হলে প্রয়োগ করা হোক।
অলওয়েজ আসছি, সব অভ্যাস আছে, সমস্যা হবে না।
আমি ফুটওভার ব্রিজ দিয়ে যাচ্ছিলাম, কিন্তু একটু ফাঁকা পাইছি জন্য আসছি।
ট্রেনগুলা কোন সময় আসে, কোন সময় যাবে, কোনো ক্যাটাগরি নাই, কোনো টাইম নাই।
স্টেশনে এসে কোনো লোক হয় না, সিঙ্গেলের কোনো ব্যবস্থা নাই।
দেখতে পাবেন বাংলাদেশ সময় প্রতি শুক্রবার রাত 8টায় এবং নিউ ইয়র্ক সময় সকাল 6টায়।
সাদাকা ফাউন্ডেশন ইউএসএ মার্কিন যুক্তরাষ্ট্র ভিত্তিক সাহায্য সংস্থা, জাতি, ধর্ম, বর্ণ নির্বিশেষে বিপন্ন মানবতার পাশে সব সময়। করোনা মহামারীর এই দুর্যোগে 7 দিন 24 ঘন্টা আপনার পাশে আছে সাদাকা ফাউন্ডেশন। আপনিও সাথে থাকুন। হটলাইন নাম্বার 718-200-9222।